Hello, வணக்கம் என் உயிரினும் மேலான இனிய தமிழ் மக்களே. This is your host RJ Venki with another episode of Southern Spice. And as I've been doing over the past several weeks, I've been speaking in English and conducting these interviews in English only because all my subjects, all the people who are coming for interview uh, do not know Tamil, and they're doing some really fantastic work, which I need a larger audience to know about, and therefore we're going with English. And in the series of students, high school kids, overachievers, today I have Sivaank Putukuchi. He is dedicated to improving care and supporting people's health in three distinct ways. First, his curiosity and love for the biological sciences drives his passion for research and the development of new therapies that directly benefit patients. Second, he is committed to providing personal support through volunteering and community engagement, helping people maintain their well-being in daily life. Third, on a broader level, he aims to address systemic issues in healthcare by working to close critical gaps in areas such as rural care and mental health. I personally feel again this is quite a lot, quite a bit for a high schooler to be doing, but today's crop of high schoolers are very high achievers. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Sivaank. Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure having you, Sivaank. Just before we get started, one part of this interview, the audio will be played on Radio Zindagi in New York, New Jersey, 1310 AM Parsippany, New Jersey, 96.7 FM, Edison, New Jersey, and 540 AM in NYNJ CT tri-state area, and streaming live on Southern Spice USA, Facebook and YouTube channels. So on that note, to all the listeners and all the viewers, welcome. So Sivaank, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I think your introduction was really good, really nice. I'm a high school senior who's really passionate about healthcare, biological sciences, as well as service, and I work in biological research, and I also work in advocacy trying to improve rural healthcare and mental health, especially for teenagers. And I'm also very interested in serving people directly, especially uninsured populations, and just trying to help increase the quality of care within this country and where I'm from.
Beautiful. So you do a lot of activities, I'm told. So you are in debate, you research with NASA and Space Med. You
Yes.
love genetics and neuroscience, and you love nature, and you also have a book that you're writing.
Yes.
Terrific. I think there's a lot for us to talk about. So let's start with this. How did your journey with this particular cause begin? And was there any kind of a specific moment or experience that kind of sparked it for you?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about a specific moment, but I think it was a culmination of multiple different moments in my life. I know since I was a child, I was really curious about the world, especially space was my first interest. And slowly throughout time in middle school, that evolved into biology and microbiology. And then later on in my life, I tried to see how I can combine them. So that's how I got involved into space medicine. But also at the same time, I saw what healthcare looked like. This was coming right after COVID. I saw doctors being very powerful members of our community, really helping the way that care is shaped. But I also seen people across the country and in my local area, uninsured populations, teenagers with mental health issues in that time who were not sufficiently helped. So even if we're having a lot of biological treatments that are being created, not a lot of people are able to access them. So that's how I got involved into combining my passion for the sciences with public advocacy.
And genetics?
Yes, genetics came about as something that I started as a middle schooler. I really enjoyed my genetics class as part of my 7th grade biology class. And then I really got involved into genetics, believe it or not, with debate. I looked at debate and I went in the debate topic talking about genetic editing. And I went down a huge rabbit hole and I decided I really loved this science and I thought it was really interesting. So that's why I got involved into genetics research.
Wow. So so there is genetics on one side, and then you have space biology and space medicine. Are these all separate, or are you trying to kind of combine them?
They do seem separate initially, but I do try to combine them. So my biological interests are very varied. I have interests in genetics, space medicine, as well as neuroscience, and I have tried to combine them together. So a NASA project that I worked on was looking at the genetics of synaptic transmission in
Mhm.
space. So that combines all of my interests of neuroscience, genetics, and space medicine.
Wow. Wow, that's a lot, Sivank. That's terrific. It's so exciting just to hear about it, and I can only imagine how it fuels you on a day-to-day basis, right? When you wake up in the morning, get up from your bed, and you're like all excited to know more about it in that field. So, what are you up to currently? What's your current initiative?
Yeah, right now with my initiatives, I'm working on two specific ones. Right now, more urgently and more fast, I'm working on a 1 month initiative to increase rural health help here in Texas. Texas is one of the worst states when it comes to rural access to healthcare, and particularly for people who come to urban areas to get specialty care for their children, they're not able to pay for those costs of living here for a very long amount of time or just making that trip here. So a lot of people don't even come in the first place. And this was I was introduced to this when I was volunteering at the Scottish Rite Hospital, where I talked to a father who was here for 8 weeks. He came from a rural town, and his savings were entirely gone just to come and take care of his kid. So I was like, okay, we should do something about this. So I spent a lot of time, used my research skills to good use, and came up with a huge policy memo, about 9 pages, about what we can implement here in the state of Texas based off of models across the US and things that were previously advocated for as well. And so I'm trying to get a lot of people to now come and support me within Texas to endorse my memo so I can send it to all the representatives in the Texas House.
Whoa. I need a little time to kind of understand and internalize all that activity. And you did all of this when you were in like 10th, 11th grade?
No, I'm doing this right now. So this is an initiative that I'm doing currently.
And you are currently in the 11th grade.
I'm in the 12th grade.
12th.
Yeah.
School started now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have a lot going on, Sivank. So let's unpack it. Let's try to capture one of them, just one of them first. So you've been deeply involved in mental health advocacy from serving on your school district's mental health action plan committee, and
Yes.
to launch your own initiative called Youth Rewired, right?
Yes.
So tell us about that. What makes Youth Rewired different from other mental health programs, and how did you figure out what teenagers really need in today's space, more in the digital space?
Yes. So I'm a teenager myself, and I've been around multiple other teenagers that are living in the digital age in a pretty competitive high school. So I was able to see the effects of mental health issues with teenagers, especially with anxiety and stress in the everyday environment of school. And I also saw how that interacted with how they use their social media. So, for example, when we're all stressed out or when we have anxiety and things like that, we generally tend to go to social media for the first thing because it's very convenient for us and it's a quick boost of happiness and satisfaction instead of really finding the help that we really need, instead of like reaching out to counselors or reaching out to our family, people who can actually help us. And that really does put us in a cycle of scrolling over and over again. Initially it feels great, but after a while it becomes really boring and taxing, and it does ruin your mental health even more. So I see this trend happening a lot. So this initiative, Youth Rewired, is mainly focused on getting people the ability to figure out when they need help and how to ask for that help. A lot of mental health organizations say, hey, just go and ask for help. But nobody really talks about how to do that. And I think teenagers really need that right now. And one way is to disconnect and talk to people and have that people interaction and making that more comfortable for people to do.
Whoa, okay. So that's Youth Rewired. Now to the other one, the Rural Healthcare Initiative, right?
Yes.
So why rural healthcare? What made you get involved into the advocacy for rural healthcare?
Yeah, so my initial involvement with rural healthcare did come at the Scottish Rite Hospital, where I did volunteer over this summer. And this interaction with this father that was there, who was very distressed at that time because his financial situation was not good. Even though his child was getting better, he drained his entire life savings on just coming to get specialty care. And the choice for him was basically saving his kid's life and losing his entire life savings. And he had to choose losing his entire life savings. Now, for me, as someone who lives in a suburban area, this isn't something that I ever had to think about. I could just, if something happened to me, my parents could take me to the hospital. Maybe I spend some time there and I can come back home fairly quickly. But for children like this, it's a huge mentally taxing and a financially taxing thing. So my thought was, these are all big issues. Sure, even their care is taken care of by the government. They have Medicaid and all these kinds of things. But nobody talks about the hidden costs of coming to the city and staying here. So how do we address those issues? Turns out a lot of states do have systems to address these kinds of things. North Carolina has a system to increase the amounts of access to rural care without coming to the city necessarily, or they increase the amounts of reimbursements for families on Medicare and Medicaid to come to the cities, especially when their children need help like this. So this is something I do want to bring to the state of Texas. And like I said, I got and wrote a policy memo and I tried to get more people involved into it.
Terrific. So as you've been working in the field of policy advocacy and healthcare, so what are the biggest challenges as a teenager working in this area, and how do you think the future looks?
Yeah, so as you said, I'm a teenager, and for a politician who's working in the state capitol, my voice is probably the least important for them. And so I think at that point, it's important for me to understand that that's where I belong right now, but I need to still use my voice, and that shouldn't stop me from using it. So I think the way that we are working around it is by trying to increase the amount of people that come. So more voices does have more power. Now, when it comes to the future, I'm quite optimistic. I think a lot of teenagers nowadays are very socially minded, and we really want to improve the systems that we're around. So we saw COVID, we saw a lot of systems fail. So we really want to improve it. And I genuinely think that we all can work together to have a better future for the state, for our country, and the world.
Okay, so what do you think will happen in the next 10 years from your side in terms of major change in health policy or research? If you would like to see or influence one change, what would that be?
Yeah, I can be very optimistic right now and say I want to increase the access to healthcare here and around the country. That's one of the biggest issues in healthcare in the United States, is just a lot of people are not able to get the quality of care that they want. So that's something I really want to work on. And even if it isn't quality of care, to increase the access to prescription medicines. That is something I really want to focus on as I go into college as well, because that is a big issue that I have. So I don't know if I'm able to fix this issue in the next 10 years. It's a very difficult issue to tackle, especially in the political field. But I think if I can make a slight improvement in what, let's say, one or two different prescription drugs, making it more accessible, hopefully through better research that makes it cheaper, or even through policies that make it cheaper, that is a big win and considered in my books.
Brilliant. Good luck with that. Before we wrap up the interview, I just want to switch quickly to your fun areas, right? You said you love nature, and you're also writing a book. Tell us about both of that, please.
Yeah, I'm a big nature fan. I live in Texas. It's either really hot or really cold, but I still like nature anyway. I like to go out on walks and bike a nearby trail every single time. Whenever I am in school, whenever I'm stressed out, that's a really good way for me to relax. Another way that I started relaxing lately, around like March, I started writing a book. It's called Perfect Silence. It's about to come out soon. It's actually set in my town of Coppell, and it really deals with the teenage dynamic. So I don't want to spoil it, but I want to say that it's a good book in talking about dystopian Coppell and how a lot of teenagers work together to save the city. It's quite an adventure, a mystery, and a dystopian novel packed into one.
Wow. and how do you find time to cram all of this into your regular day?
Yeah, so I spend time doing schoolwork. It takes up a lot of time. And then after that, I usually spend time thinking about, what do I want to make a difference today? Like, what do I want to do to make this world a better place? And sometimes that's reaching out with friends, just connecting back to myself. Sometimes that's working on these initiatives. Sometimes that's really helping my brain be rich with debate, research for debate, or just scientific research in general. And whenever none of those work out, I go out on a walk and I go out into nature to keep myself grounded. And then usually at the end of the day, I spend time writing because that really does ground me before I go to sleep. So that's usually how I manage all of these. It's just something that I really like to do to keep myself happy and satisfied.
Sivank, this really gives me a thought on what other teens should be doing. But I want to ask you that question. Do you have any message that you would like to share with all the other teens if they are watching this interview?
Yes, my biggest message is to find something or some things that you're passionate about and really invest in them, because that really does give you something to look forward to every single day. So like you said, every morning I do wake up and think, okay, what am I going to discover today? Now, usually it's nothing, but hopefully one day I do discover something, or make a big change in the world. And that really does keep me want to keep me going, even when like school gets really boring, or like life just tends to get a lot more monotonous. These are the things that kind of add spice to your life.
Perfect. Absolutely. I mean, it really does make a difference what your first thought is when you wake up in the morning. It can be something like this: how am I going to change the world? How am I going to make an impact today? Or it can be like, hey, I need to grab my phone and look at social media, right?
Exactly.
It makes all the difference in terms of how you take your day forward. So I think you're doing all the right things. Good luck with all your initiatives. Wish you very well, and hope to see you achieve everything that you set out to achieve.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Shivank, take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that was Sivaank Pothukuchi from Coppell, Texas, another supremely, focused achiever. So he's in high school and doing so many different things. And as I said earlier, I think every teenager should, take a leaf out of that book and kind of think, when I wake up in the morning, am I going to think about what I'm going to do or achieve today, or am I going to go to Instagram or TikTok, right? Choice is yours, but you can change the world literally by that thought every morning. On that note, I'll take off from Southern Spice today's episode. Again, this is RJ Venki. Come back to you next week with a couple of more interesting conversations. Till then, stay tuned. Thank you very much. Have fun.